We're already done with the data formatting and data representation functions. So today we'll focus our attention towards the data analysis functions in Excel. Now, data analysis is a very wide spectrum or array of functions that could come into this. So we're going to look at some of the major ones that at a beginning level would be required for us to kind of work ahead. And then as we go along, we'll probably keep adding a little bit to this repertoire of functions that we look at, right? The first set of functions that we're going to look at in terms of data analysis are, let's say we are given a text value, a string value, and we want to find out how many alphabet or letters does it have, what is the total length of that string, and if we want to, let's say, work on some sort of a functionality where we can take out the first two letters or the last two letters or the middle two letters of a particular text string that is there, right? So the first function in this case, which could be useful, is something called as the length function. Now let's say we have been given this set of strings here, and they could be any kind of characters, right? So for example, they could be identifiers of students, they could be us working in an industry where these are invoice numbers, they could be some other parameters, right? So for example, you could have one of the strings as INV201415, and they followed by the invoice number, which is 011, let's say. Right now I want to find out if this is a correct what is the length of this, so that might be used separately in terms of some sort of an analysis somewhere, right? Now Excel allows us a function called len, L-E-N, which basically gives us the length or number of characters in a text string, right? So you read this, returns the number of characters in a text string. I open the bracket and I just link the particular cell for which I want the length. I close the bracket, right? You could also go here and click on the function fx here so that you get the arguments here. You can click on A5 and you see returns the number of characters in a text string. Text is the text whose length you want to find. Spaces count as characters. Remember, if there is a space in between, it counts it as a character, right? Click OK and you get 7. The next number that you see is 10. Why is it 10? That's a 10 digit number. That's a 10 letter number or text that is there. This is very similar to what PAN numbers are like. So if you look at PAN numbers or permanent account numbers of individual taxpayers in India or corporate taxpayers in India, that number looks like this: 5 alphabets followed by 4 numbers followed by another alphabet that you see there, right? You could similarly continue and look at some of the other parameters. So all we need to do is, remember, Excel drags and drops the formula. So we can drag and drop the formula and we find that length of this particular text string is 12. This is 777, right? If I add a space somewhere, so let's say we add a space somewhere in between here, two spaces somewhere in between here, press enter, you see space counts as a length. So sometimes this might be useful if you are, let's say, evaluating a set of parameters and you're looking for a company's invoice numbers, and you would want to make sure that all invoice numbers are 12 digits and you have not missed a digit somewhere or an alphabet somewhere. You could run this to identify what is going to be the length of a particular character, right? Now that's the first instance where we are trying to use data which can then subsequently be used in some sort of a data analysis, right? So that's the first function that we get. Now let's move ahead and move to the next set of data where it might be useful for us. So now let's say we have to actually take out some characters, or from the beginning of the text string, some characters from the end of the text string, or some characters from the middle of the text string, right? For that, Excel allows us some functions. Let's say I want to find out the first two characters. So we want to find out what are the first two characters that we see in this particular string, right? What do I use? I use something called as, remember, when you use a function, you'll always have to put an equals to there, left. So now let's open the function argument by clicking on this fx here. So we see what text has to come in. I select the text, and how many characters do you want from the left to extract, right? So if you put 2 here, it'll give you the first two characters. Look at this closely here. it tells you what the answer of this number would be. If on the other hand you put in 3 here, it will give you the first 3 characters. We need only the first 2. So I click OK and we get the first 2 characters, right? So these are the first 2 characters. We can justify this centrally or middle justification so that we get it right in the center of the column that we have. Now let's say we have to extract the last 2 characters, right? So to extract the last 2 characters, just like to extract the first 2 characters, we had a function called left. To extract the last 2 characters, we'll have a function called right. Right now, this gives you the numbers from the end of the string. So again, you open bracket and you click on this fx here. So it opens the text string. You select the same text string here once again, here, and how many numbers? We need the last 2 characters, right? So we put the last 2 characters and put that there, right? And we drag it down. So you get what is the last 2 characters on each of these strings, right? Now, depending on what do you want, what your purpose is, let's look at this particular row. Let's say I want to find out what is the invoice number. I get 11 as the last 2 characters, which tells me that this is the invoice number 11, right? Possibly that's the coding system the company is using. And if you have a bulk list of invoices, you could immediately get out what is the invoice number by using this kind of a function, right? Now let's complicate it a bit further and say we want to calculate or find out some middle characters from it. Right now, middle is not so simple because it will give you a certain number of characters starting from a particular point that you say, right? So what you do is just like left and right, this would be mid. So click on mid. Now it tells you some interesting parameters. So first, obviously, you have to tell the text which you're looking at. Second, it says where do you want to start, right? So the first character in the text is 1. Let's say I want to start at the second character. So I press 2 there. And from this one, how many characters do you want to pull out? Let's say I want to pull out 4 after this, right? So it gives me C0K9, right? And what is that? COK9, and that's basically these 4 characters that have come out, right? So these are the 4 characters that have come out in this particular case. Now this row denotes a number that is very similar to a PAN number, a permanent account number that is used by taxpayers in India, let's say, right? Now when you look at PAN numbers, the PAN number as it is given here, A, B, C, P, C, 1212, K. The fourth character here, if it is P, it says it's a person. If it is C, it means it is a corporate. Now let's say you have been given this string. How can you find out whether this is a person or a corporate, right? For that, I need to have, so this is, if there is only one number given, that's fine. But if we have like 1,000 numbers given, how do we know how many of these are effectively persons and how many of these are effectively corporates, right? So let's try that. Now, in this particular case, we want the fourth character from the left, right? So what do we do is equals to mid. We select the text. Remember, we start on the fourth character and we take out only one character, right? Start on the fourth, take only one, and you get P as that, right? Similarly, let's look at the next one. Let's say I want to find out, this is an invoice number. For what year is the invoice number, right? So I want to find out 2014-15, which is like 6 characters starting at the fourth number. So once again, I will put in mid and select the text starting at the fourth one and 6 characters. That will tell us which year it is, 2014-15, right? So that's effectively how you can use it. The rest of them are similar in length to the first one. So we can do a Control-C, Control-V, and you will find they are taking out the second, third, fourth, and fifth characters from the string because it started from 2 and went up all the way up to the next 4 characters. This could be significantly useful in data analysis as you go along, as you're given a lot of these strings and you have to kind of collate data out of them and find out what is the key characteristic there, right? So that brings us to an end of this particular section.